Ghana has initiated arbitration proceedings under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, seeking a declaration that it has not encroached on Cote d'Ivoire's territorial waters in the exploration of oil. The decision follows failed negotiations between the two countries in the past few years, as well as continued receipt of threat letters from Cote d'Ivoire by oil companies operating in the disputed area. In order to avoid a diplomatic spat, Ghana has since served Cote d'Ivoire with the notification of arbitration in accordance with the provisions of the UNCLOS. Ghana filed its suits against based on Article 287 Annex 7 of the 1982 UNCLOS. A statement of claim accompanying the notification had also been served on Cote d'Ivoire. Benjamin Boache is Director of Programs and Projects at the Africa Center for Energy Policy. We'll talk about this over the next few minutes. You're welcome to the program, Benjamin.
Thank you very much.
First of all, what's ASAP's position on how the issue between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire has developed so far?
I think we would commend government on the position that it has taken after a failed attempt to negotiate, with the Ivorians. I think going to arbitration will bring the finality to the dispute over the borderline. So if the International Court of Arbitration declares that Ghana owns the disputed area, then that is final, rather than negotiating. If you negotiate today and another government in Ivory Coast also comes tomorrow and say, no, we don't agree with what was negotiated, they will still come back to the same issue. But going to the arbitration will actually bring finality to the area. I think it has never been an issue until recently when Ghana discovered oil close to the borders and continuing exploration in the area. So I think going to the arbitration is the right way to go.
I see. Let's look at such a case at the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. How long do we expect such cases to take when they're taken to the UNCLOS?
Unfortunately, we are unable to determine how long, but it sometimes drags, to several decades even. So we would hope that this time around there will be a way to go around it for us to quickly dispose of that issue, but it could take a long while.
At this point, is either of the country stopped from making gains from the disputed border?
That will be declared by the court. I think the court will have to make a declaration as to whether activities around the border lines could still be ongoing or everything should come to a halt. And I think that will be rather the lawyers will better speak to those issues. But as speak now, we haven't had any word from the court. The ministry also wished to have a press conference today, so we want to wait to hear what directives they have based on their filing at the court.
In the absence of that, could we be at a loss because we have been told that the oil giants seem to be on the Cote d'Ivoire side in the sense that they already have the big names when it comes to oil drilling in the world? Would we be at a loss if we fail to have that injunction, if you like?
The problem will be that if the oil giants on the Ivory Coast side discover oil that straddles our borders, that will mean that whilst we litigate in court, they will be siphoning the oil. So by the time you finish, they would have gone away with all the oil, and that is what probably we would want to determine right now, whether any discovery along the Ivory Coast border probably straddle through the borders, so that we are not shortchanged in the end. We would need to ascertain that probably by doing some seismic activity on our border to ensure that none of the discoveries on the Ivory Coast side, struggle between the two borders.
So, per history, how have cases like this ended at the United Nations Convention?
In the case of UK and Norway, what happened was that there was an agreement to unitize the discoveries, so that the two countries could jointly produce the oil. But in our case, we are actually fighting over the border line. We don't know where exactly the border line is. So that will be first determined before, because there hasn't been any discovery that actually struggles between the two borders. But we are fighting over the real establishment of the border, which has never been an issue. Ghana has been known to own that segment until we discovered oil. So we will need to have a declaration from the court, who actually owns the borderline.
We'll leave it here and perhaps wait for the Attorney General's press conference later today. Thank you very much, Benjamin. In the meantime, I still have David Agbe, Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, over the telephone on the same matter. David, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Kameni.
How is this likely to affect relations between the two countries?
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. I think that with regards to this oil matter, it has been, so long, and we thought that by now Ghanaians and the Cote d'Ivoire could have found diplomatic ways of, resolving this matter, because we've had these kind of collaborations together for quite a long time. So, looking at the issue critically, you could realize that we are now fighting over natural resources, which is the oil, and so everybody is trying to take an entrenched position with regards to how best they can actually get enough of revenue to support each kind of country in terms of revenue. And so it's such that looking at how it is going on, it is the international organizations that need to actually step in. We thought that by now ECOWAS and its sub-regions would have found a way of coming out with a certain policy that could be able to resolve all these kind of oil matter, which is, showing its ugly health in our continent. We have this oil consortium in Nigeria. We thought that by now they could have been able to come out strongly, to come out with other methodologies of resolving oil conflicts in the African continent. But looking at it is now, it's a very, serious matter, and we thought that by now Ghanaian government and Ivorian government could have been able to find an amicable way of solving the matter. If you looked at the border very well, very close to Cote d'Ivoire, and so you realize that they also have an equal share, and so which they are also trying to battle with it, so that they'll be able to have a common share of the oil find. But looking at this now, it is more appropriate that they'll be able to settle the matter at international arbitration.
I see, David. Thank you very much for your time. David Agbe is Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Kojo Poku is an energy expert, and he's showing me over the telephone. Kojo, welcome to the program too.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very well. Kojo, what will be your opinion on this matter?
Well, the boundaries of Ghana and Ivory Coast has always been established. The maritime borders is there. It's just that it's just recently, because of the discovery of oil at the proximity to the Ivorian border, that is causing the agitation. But it's rightfully so for government to try and seek legal interpretation of where the boundaries are, because those boundaries have been in existence since time immemorial. So I think the Ivorians are trying to pull a fast one on us on these issues.
And how would you expect government to handle it going forward? I mean, besides the fact that it is other international tribunal on the law of the sea.
Well, I would have expected the Ivorian government and the Ghana government to resolve it amicably, since we have a very good and a cordial relationship with Ivory Coast.
Clearly, it looks like that has failed.
Pardon?
I'm saying that clearly it looks like that has failed.
Well, exactly. So the law court has to, the international tribunals have to determine it. It's there. I'm just thinking it's very strange that all of a sudden the Ivorians want to redraw the maritime boundaries, because what constitutes Ghana waters and what constitutes Ivorian waters has never been in dispute until recently. And clearly, the Cape 3 Point and the Channel basins are all within the Ghana. And you see, the funny thing is that even before discovery, there's been companies like Ghana who has been doing exploration in these waters so many years ago. And it's just recently, when a discovery has been made, that Ivorians want to redraw the boundary. Why did they not come to us when the exploration started, when the seismic vessels were on the seas shooting for seismic? You know, they just being unfair, really.
But is it not possible to go into a joint area agreement, perhaps?
If it's a gray area where the boundaries is, if it's a no man's land, then yes. But if it's our boundary, why would you want to go into joint agreement? It's like you having a land which is clearly within your walls, and you find gold in there, and your neighbor comes and said, "Look, let's do a joint sharing." When you have walls in place for so many years, that's really, these boundaries are imaginary, but they exist. I mean, the world. The Ghana Navy has been patrolling these waters for so many years. And the Ivorian Navy has never come to tell the Ghana Navy, look, we are in our waters. You know, and whenever maritime, when these vessels are crossing Ivorian waters into Ghana waters, these boundaries are there. You know, but like I said, if the amicable resolution did not work, then definitely the court should be the last recourse of arbitration. I'm sure they would establish it and they will put it to rest.
Kojo, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much for your time. Kojo Poku is an expert in the oil and gas industry.